Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to go my WrestleMania 37 review. Starting off night one, we have Vince McMahon coming out to the crowd, pretty much giving a speech to the fans in the aspects that he's welcoming them back to WWE. Obviously this is the first time they had a live crowd since this pandemic had started. And then we go right into a rain delay. It rained at Raymond James Stadium, which caused the rain delay, which was I think was about 10-15 minutes. So during that rain delay, we go into a couple interview segments, a couple interviews backstage, and in my honest opinion, man, it was kind of cringe. I understand their back was against the wall because of this rain delay, but some of those interviews were pretty bad. And then we go into a promo from Kevin Owens, which I thought was great. The only bad thing I will say about that is that his microphone cut out halfway through that promo that he was cutting on Sami Zayn. That was the only negative about starting the night right there, was that rain delay and the whole interview and the Kevin Owens promo with the mic cutting out. Man, it wasn't a good start to WrestleMania, I'll just say that. But we go right into our first match of night one. It is Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley for Lashley's WWE Championship. Starting off the match, pretty much a back and forth matchup between McIntyre and Lashley. Lashley then hits a neck breaker on McIntyre. McIntyre then hits one of his own on Lashley. McIntyre then applies a Kimura lock on Lashley on the top rope. McIntyre then goes for a Claymore kick on Lashley, but Lashley sends McIntyre straight into the mat. McIntyre then hits 3 Future Shock DDTs on Lashley, pins him for the 2. McIntyre then hits a senton over the top on Lashley and MVP on the outside. Lashley then applies a hurt lock on McIntyre, but McIntyre breaks the hold. McIntyre then applies another Kimura lock on Lashley, but Lashley somehow breaks the hold. Lashley then applies another hurt lock on McIntyre. McIntyre is passed out, and your winner of the match by submission and still WWE Champion is Bobby Lashley. Again, this was a great opening match for night one. Fantastic match for night one. But in my honest opinion, man, the wrong guy won this match. And I'm not taking anything away from Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley, that guy is one hell of an athlete. But this was Drew McIntyre's chance to win this championship, man, in front of a live audience, something that he didn't get last year. And this was setting up, to me, in my honest opinion, the storyline was leading up to McIntyre becoming champion again at WrestleMania on night one. That was not the case. So I don't know if they're going to give McIntyre a rematch against Lashley, possibly a backlash, or are they just completely moving on from McIntyre? In my honest opinion, after that loss, the hype train around McIntyre definitely went down, man. Hands down went down. It's not the same anymore. And McIntyre lost clean. It was a clean finish. Clean. So who knows what's going to happen to McIntyre, or who knows what's going to be next for Bobby Lashley. But I will give credit where credit's due. Hats off to Bobby Lashley for getting the win in this match and retaining the WWE Championship. Moving on from that, we go into our next match on the card as well. It is the Tag Team Turmoil match, where the winner will go on to night 2 to face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Starting off the match, Naomi and Lana versus Carmella and Billie Kay start this match. Naomi and Lana are keeping the pace. Naomi then hits a springboard enziguri on Billie Kay, but somehow Billie Kay hits a roll-up on Naomi, pins her for the 3, and Naomi and Lana are now eliminated from this match. Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan are the next competitors out to this match. Riott hits a senton off the top rope on Kay, pins her for the 3. Carmella and Billie Kay are now eliminated from this match. After that, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose come down to the ring. Dana Brooke then hits a blockbuster off the top rope on Riott. Dana Brooke then, it seems, well, she actually did have a humongous wardrobe malfunction in which Peacock actually cut the feed from WrestleMania for about 2 seconds. Now, if you guys watch WrestleMania, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about with that wardrobe malfunction. It was bad. It was pretty bad, and you can kind of tell that something might happen with her attire, because it seemed a little bit loose on Dana Brooke, and some of the moves that she was pulling, something, it was bound to happen. It seemed like, especially after she pulled that blockbuster. So, I don't know how they handle that, but Peacock did end up cutting the feed for about 2 seconds when this happened. Dana Brooke then hits a swanton off the top rope on Liv Morgan, but Liv ends up hitting a roll-up on Dana Brooke, pins her for the 3, and Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose are eliminated. After that, the Riott Squad are keeping the pace, but Tamina hits a splash off the top rope, pins her for the 3, and your winners of the match and moving on to night 2 to challenge Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are Tamina and Natalya. My initial thought about this match was, number one, it wasn't needed. It was not needed. I don't know who booked this match, but this was a bad idea. And the match itself, in my honest opinion, I thought was awful. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke were all over the place, man. All over the place. And it was bad. It was really bad. Natalya and Tamina, they look like one hell of a tag team. They look like a great tag team, man. And hopefully they stay as a tag team. because I think what they did in this match was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So, hats off to Natalya and Tamina for getting the win in this match. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of night one. It is Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. Starting off the match, Cesaro quickly goes after Rollins. Cesaro then hits a springboard corkscrew uppercut on Rollins, which was absolutely devastating. Rollins then hits a superplex off the top rope into a Falcon Arrow on Cesaro. Cesaro then unloads uppercuts on Rollins into the corner. Cesaro then hits a Cesaro swing on Rollins as well. Rollins then gets up, hits a corkscrew splash off the top rope, which was absolutely amazing. Cesaro then hits a neutralizer on Rollins. Rollins then gets up, hits a pedigree on Cesaro. Cesaro then hits an airplane spin on Rollins. Cesaro then hits a Cesaro swing on Rollins for 23 consecutive times. And then Cesaro finally hits another neutralizer on Rollins and pins him for the 3. And your winner of the match is Cesaro. Again, this was the right guy who should have won this match, man. This guy deserves a push. He deserves an opportunity. Man, Cesaro's been with the WWE for a little bit over 10 years now. You know, this is his first time having a singles match on WrestleMania. That right there is remarkable in itself. And number two, he's been on WrestleMania, but every single one of those other matches besides the one he had against Rollins was in a tag team, whether it was Shinsuke Nakamura or Cesaro and Sheamus, also known as The Bar. Cesaro deserves a push, man. He also deserves an opportunity at a title, if not a world championship. The guy, to me, is very underrated on that roster, and he's not being utilized correctly. I mean, hence the reason why this is his first singles match on a WrestleMania in over 10 years. That's saying a lot. That's saying a hell of a lot about Cesaro. But hats off to Cesaro for getting the win in this match. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of night one. It is AJ Styles and Amos versus Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Starting off that match, Kofi and Xavier Woods are keeping the pace. Amos is showing his strength, obviously, against Kofi and Woods. Styles then hits a phenomenal forearm off Amos' shoulders. Amos then hits a finish on Kofi, pins him for the 3, and your winners of the match and new Raw Tag Team Champions are AJ Styles and Amos. Again, not a bad match. And I'm going to give credit where credit's due, man. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, The New Day, hell of a tag team. Hell of a tag team. Not taking anything away from those guys. AJ Styles and Amos, you know, they're the new Raw Tag Team Champions. Who knows what's going to happen next? Could I see a rematch? Of course I can see a rematch. That's what Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard, that's what they do. That's what they do. You know, they take the easy way out, and, oh, let's give another rematch, possibly a Backlash. I can totally see it happening. Totally see it happening. But hats off to AJ Styles and Amos for becoming the new Raw Tag Team Champions. Moving on from that, we go to our next match on the card as well. It is Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in a cage match. Starting off the match, Strowman makes his way down to the ring, but he's quickly attacked by Elias and Riker. Shane then is keeping the pace from that attack. Shane then hits Strowman with a sheet metal pan. Shane then hits a DDT on Strowman in the middle of the ring. Shane then gets to the top rope, hits a coast-to-coast on Strowman. Shane then hits Strowman with a toolbox. Shane then goes to escape the cage, but Strowman rips the cage wall off and grabs Shane, throws him back into the ring. Strowman then throws Shane. They get to the top of the cage, and then Strowman throws Shane off the top of the cage down to the ring below. Strowman then hits a power slam on Shane in the middle of the ring, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Braun Strowman. Again, very good match. I'm not going to say it was the best match, but it was a decent match. And Shane McMahon, man, you got to give him credit, man. He always does some kind of crazy stuff. I remember that time that he was, I think it was SummerSlam, where he was fighting Steve Blackman. And Steve Blackman was, like, beating the hell out of him with that kendo stick. And then all of a sudden you see Shane fall off of this structure, probably like 20, 30 feet below. All the matches he had with Undertaker, that Hell in a Cell match that he had, just crazy stuff, man. That match he had with Kurt Angle at the King of the Ring, where Angle was trying to throw him through that stage, that glass structure on the stage, just brutal stuff, man. But hats off to Strowman for getting the win in this match. Moving on to the next match on the card, it is John Morrison and The Miz versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. Starting off the match, John Morrison and The Miz come down to the ring with a bunch of bunnies, which honestly I thought was awful. Obviously it was a jab towards Bad Bunny. But I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, man. I thought it was cringe. It was bad. It was real bad. Bad Bunny then comes down to the ring. Man, I thought his entrance was amazing. You know, him coming with that, you know, coming down to the ring with a tractor trailer. The music was playing. The crowd was completely hyped. That was one of the best entrances I've seen in WrestleMania in a very long time, and it was pretty cool. The other thing I would take away, too, was Bad Bunny hitting that crazy Canadian Destroyer on John Morrison on the outside. Man, I think everybody in attendance that night, everybody watching around the world, just was shocked that he pulled that off, man. I was completely shocked that he hit that Canadian Destroyer, man. Absolutely awesome. That Bad Bunny hits a crossbody off the top rope on The Miz, pins him for the 3, and your winners of the match are Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. Again, not a bad match, man. Not a bad match whatsoever. And you can see how much Bad Bunny loves the company, man. He loves professional wrestling, man. He's a humongous fan of the sport. And I have nothing but the respect for that. And I think he set the bar for people, celebrities, if you will, that would come into WrestleMania and want to have a match. Y'all better be taking some notes from Bad Bunny, man, because that guy completely pulled it off WrestleMania Night 1. Absolutely. Hats off to Priest and Bad Bunny for getting the win in this match. Moving on to the main event of Night 1, it is Sasha Banks defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Bianca Belair. Starting off the match, Banks and Bianca are looking around in the crowd. Obviously you see Belair, completely emotional, man. I mean, this woman has gone through a lot. Made a great name for herself on NXT, got to the main roster, and just, she's doing a phenomenal job, man. Absolutely phenomenal job. So she was obviously showing a lot of emotions on this night, obviously being the main event of Night 1. But starting off the match, Sasha hits a running knee strike on Belair. Sasha's keeping the pace at that point. Belair then gets up, hits a standing shooting star press on Banks that was absolutely amazing. Belair then hits 2 power bombs on Banks. Sasha then hits a frog splash off the top rope on Belair. Banks then applies a bank statement on Belair. Belair then breaks the hold. Belair then hits a 450 splash off the top rope, pins Banks for the 2. Belair then whips her hair across Sasha Banks' stomach, man, and it sounds absolutely brutal, man. It sounds like a gunshot going off. Belair then hits a KOD on Banks, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match and new SmackDown Women's Champion is Bianca Belair. Number 1, man, this to me was the match of Night 1. This match, and before this match, I would say Rollins and Cesaro. These were the 2 matches for me for Night 1. These 2 ladies tore the house down. Absolutely tore the house down, and I couldn't be more happy for Bianca Belair, man. I mean, that woman deserves this opportunity. She has hustled, in NXT and hustled into the main roster, and, she became one hell of a competitor. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think she's probably one, if not the strongest woman on that roster. Hands down. And she deserves it, man. I saw her family. I think her dad was trying to jump over the barricade because of how excited he was for Bianca to win. Montez Ford obviously came out. Was completely excited for Bianca Belair, man, and it was something cool to see, man. It really was, and seeing the emotions running through her and stuff, and it was awesome. It was really cool, man. Hats off to her for getting the win in this match, and what I thought, I thought it was a great match, man. I really did. I thought it was a really good match. Moving on to Night 2, we go into our first match of Night 2. It is Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Starting off the match, Alexa Bliss, her music hits. She comes down to the ring. And then ringside, you have what looks like a Jack-in-the-Box. And she's, on the side of the Jack-in-the-Box, and she's, twisting that thing around, trying to get, whatever's in the Jack-in-the-Box to come out. So she's turning the Jack-in-the-Box, and next thing you know, the Fiend shows up. Not the burnt Fiend. It was more like a rebirth Fiend, like before he got burnt from Randy Orton. Alexa then, the Fiend then attacks Orton. Pretty much a back-and-forth matchup. Fiend then goes to hit Sister Abigail on Randy Orton, but all of a sudden, fire comes out of the corners, and then Alexa Bliss shows up, spilling black ooze out of her head all over the place. She's just standing on top of the Jack-in-the-Box. Fiend is distracted by this. Orton then capitalizes on it by hitting an RKO on the Fiend, pins Fiend for the 3, and your winner of the match is Randy Orton. This match was great, but I will say this. Number 1, it was a very short match. I believe it was maybe almost 6 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, and I didn't understand what was going on with Alexa Bliss. Now, is this something where Alexa Bliss is finally going to become Sister Abigail? I don't know. Or is this something where Alexa is going to turn on the Fiend and she's not going to be working with the Fiend anymore? But in my honest opinion, Alexa Bliss working with the Fiend is some of the best work she's done on the main roster since she's been on the main roster. Now, I'm not taking anything away from her athletic ability or why she's become champion and everything else. She's a great athlete, great wrestler. But as far as storyline's concerned, man, this is some of the best stuff I've seen her do. I mean, it's absolutely entertaining, and it's captivating. It's crazy to see that she went from being regular old Alexa Bliss to this mysterious side of what she is now. You know what I mean? It's absolutely insane, man. It's some of the best storytelling I've seen in a very long time. From the Fiend and Braun Strowman, and then Alexa Bliss getting involved, and now Fiend and Randy Orton, and Alexa Bliss being involved with that. It's just crazy, man. It's like a tailspin of what's going on. So who knows what's going to happen next with the Fiend or Alexa Bliss. And what's next for Randy Orton? Nobody has any idea. So hats off to Randy Orton for getting the win in this match. Moving on to the next match of night 2, it is Natalya and Tamina versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Starting off the match, pretty much a back-and-forth matchup between both teams. Natalya and Tamina are keeping the pace, though. Shayna then goes to injure the leg of Natalya. Nia then is working on the injured leg of Natalya. Nia then hits a crossbody off the top rope, taking out Natalya and Tamina. Tamina then tried to hit a body slam on Nia Jax, but it didn't go so well. She could not lift her. Natalya then applies a sharpshooter on Nia Jax, but Shayna tags herself in before that sharpshooter. Shayna then applies a coquina clutch on Natalya. Natalya then passes out. And your winners of the match, and still Women's Tag Team Champions, are Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Number one, this was not a bad match. It really wasn't a bad match. And the way I look at it, I'm going to stick with it, man. Natalya and Tamina are a great tag team. But Nia Jax and Baszler, they're better off having a singles run, especially for Shayna. I'm a big fan of Shayna, man. I think Shayna, could be women's champion for either Raw or SmackDown, wherever she decides. If there is going to be another draft, who knows? But she'll have a better singles run than she will be with tag team, because right now she's always going to be known as that woman that dominated NXT and then became a tag team partner with Nia Jax. She'll have a whole lot better career if she just did her own thing and had a singles run. Like, we all know that she can dominate that women's division. We all know that. We all know that. She needs to get away from Nia Jax a little bit, but hats off to them for getting the win in this match and retaining the Women's Tag Team Championships. Moving on to the next match, we go into Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Logan Paul comes down to the ring. Crowd completely boos Logan Paul. Zayn then goes to attack Owens, but Owens quickly hits a pump-up powerbomb on Zayn. Owens is keeping the pace at that point. Zayn then gets up, hits a suplex on Owens off the apron, absolutely brutal. Zayn then hits a Michinoku driver on Owens. Owens then gets up, hits a frog splash off the top rope on Zayn. Owens then hits a devastating neckbreaker on Zayn as well. Zayn gets up, hits an exploder suplex on Owens into the corner. Zayn then hits a blue thunder bomb on Owens. Owens then gets up, hits a fisherman suplex off the top rope on Zayn. Owens then hits a stunner on Zayn in the middle of the ring, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Kevin Owens. Again, great match. One of the best things about this match, too, was the ending when Owens hit a stunner on Logan Paul. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And hopefully, we get a little bit of taste of the old Sami Zayn, man, where, like, he was just... Sami Zayn is an incredible wrestler. But as of late, the stuff he's been pulling is just... It's not Sami Zayn. It's not. At least not the Sami Zayn I know. Sami Zayn's a fantastic athlete, man. Great competitor. Great competitor. That match he had in NXT when it was Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Where's that Sami Zayn at? That's the Sami Zayn I want to see. Not whatever the hell this is. It ain't working. Give me the old Sami Zayn back, man. Or hell, if you wanted to, put Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn back into a tag team. I'll take that. Sure. Why not? Why not? I'll take it. Have the old Sami Zayn back, working with Kevin Owens? Absolutely. But hats off to Kevin Owens for getting the win in this match. Moving on from that, we go into our next match on the card as well. It is Matt Riddle defending his United States Championship against Sheamus. Again, this was a great match. One of the craziest spots I saw from this match and the ending was when Riddle goes to hit that springboard moonsault, but then Sheamus hits him with that bro kick while he's in that moonsault, man, just absolutely devastating. Sheamus ends up picking up the win in this match and becoming the new United States champion. I'm not against it. I'm not against it whatsoever, man. I know some people will be like, oh, well, it's Matt Riddle. He didn't hold the belt that long. And I can understand that. But Sheamus is on a hot streak right now, man. I mean, he's on one hell of a tear as of late, and I believe the boat's moving towards Sheamus right now. And Sheamus can carry that title. Hopefully, I'm hoping that maybe Sheamus brings back the open challenge for the United States Championship. I think WWE needs that. I think it would be great. I think it would be absolutely awesome. But I'm happy with Sheamus getting the win here and becoming the new United States champion. So hats off to Sheamus for getting the win in this match. After that, we go to our next match on the card as well. It is Apollo Crews versus Big E for the Intercontinental Championship match in a Nigerian drum fight. Starting off that match, Wale obviously comes out before Big E's entrance. Apollo and Big E both exchange in the middle of the ring with kendo sticks. Big E then hits a spear on Apollo, sending both of them to the outside. Apollo then hits a Death Valley driver on Big E off the apron. Big E then hits a suplex on Apollo on the steps on the outside. Apollo then hits an enziguri on Big E. Apollo then goes for a frog splash off the top rope but missed and goes through a table. Big E then hits a big ending, and then all of a sudden, I believe his name is Daba, interferes in this match. I believe he was a part of Raw's Underground thing, the whole, like, blood sport kind of thing they were doing. with Shane McMahon. He comes out to the ring, beats up Big E. Apollo then covers Big E, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Apollo Crews. He's the new Intercontinental Champion. I was completely against this whole ending of this match. It should have been a clean finish, number one. Number two, Apollo Crews, man, has had so many damn chances to take this belt away from Big E and just couldn't do it. So we had to get somebody else to come out to the ring to help beat Big E so he can get the win. That says a lot about Apollo Crews, man. And I'm not taking anything away from Apollo Crews, man. I think he's one hell of an athlete, a great competitor. You know, and I'm liking the gimmick. I am. I'm liking Apollo Crews' gimmick. I'm not against it. But Big E should have won this match, man. I'm sorry. Apollo Crews has had many chances, and he's lost clean. It's not some BS finish, man. He lost clean. And for the fact that he gets another title shot at WrestleMania against Big E, and then he gets the win, it should have been a clean finish, man. I think Big E should have won this match. But hats off to Apollo for getting the win in this match and becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. Moving on from that, we go to our next match on the card as well. It is Asuka defending her Raw Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley. Starting out the match, Asuka's keeping the pace. Asuka then hits a DDT off the apron on Rhea Ripley, but Ripley somehow hits the finish on Asuka, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match and new Raw Women's Champion is Rhea Ripley. Again, this is another match that I was kind of against, to be 100% honest. And I'm not taking anything away from Asuka and Rhea Ripley, man. I think they're absolutely phenomenal. I really do. A big fan of Asuka and Rhea Ripley. The one thing I will say is that they had nobody else to put in this position to face Asuka. Nobody. They called up Rhea Ripley, and literally the day they called her up, she was instantly getting a title shot against Asuka at WrestleMania. This was a desperation move solely for WrestleMania because they had nobody else to challenge Asuka right now. Nobody. Do I believe it was too soon? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I think Rhea Ripley should have won the match? No, I don't. No, I don't. Asuka should have retained this championship, and then we would have had something for Monday Night Raw, which, again, if you guys watch Raw, you know who showed up on Raw last night. It was none other than Charlotte Flair, so you already know where that's going to be leading to. It's going to possibly be Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. Same old stuff. So, again, this was a decent match. It definitely was not better than the Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair match. There's no shot. But my hats go off to Rhea Ripley for getting the win in this match and becoming the new Raw Women's Champion. Moving on from that, we go into the main event of Night 2 for WrestleMania. It is Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Edge and Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match. Starting off the match, Reigns hits a powerbomb on Bryan on the announce table. And this was a good match. Edge hits a spear on Reigns. Edge then applies a crossface on Reigns using a piece of the chair that was broken off. Bryan then applies a yes lock on Reigns. Edge then uses a chair on Reigns and Bryan. Jey Uso then attacks Edge. Edge hits a spear on Jey Uso. Reigns then hits Edge with a chair shot. Pins both Daniel Bryan and Edge at the same time. Pins them for the 3, and your winner of the match and still Universal Champion is Roman Reigns. I'm not against this. Reigns winning the match. And I'll tell you why. Number one, Reigns has been on one hell of a tear since he's turned heel, and he's been working with Paul Heyman. He looks indestructible. Indestructible. You know, he is the head of the table, man. He is the tribal chief. And I believe it. I believe it. I've told people before, man, the best thing for Roman Reigns was for him to turn heel, and I think it's fantastic stuff. But I will say this. Number one being Edge. Edge, a lot of people were disappointed. They thought Edge was going to go over to get the win in this match. Now, will I say this has killed Edge's hype a little bit? Yes, it has. It has, because they hyped up Edge a lot. And I'm glad he's back. I was a big fan of Edge, and I'm still a big fan of Edge, but that hype train for him right now has slowed down a whole hell of a lot after this match he had with Reigns and Daniel Bryan. Absolutely. The other one is Daniel Bryan. Now, a lot of people were for Daniel Bryan, myself included. I thought Daniel Bryan could pull it off. He does make big-time moments for big matches, and I thought Daniel Bryan could, possibly become the new Universal Champion. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because, from what I understand, this is his last WrestleMania under the current contract that he has. I believe his contract's up in the fall. So, as his last WrestleMania, I thought maybe they would have him go over and get the win. Or at least Edge, but that was not the case. Roman Reigns, I don't think anybody's going to beat this man until possibly The Rock. Maybe for next year's WrestleMania. Or if Brock Lesnar does happen to return to SmackDown and challenges Roman Reigns. Those are the only two guys right now I can see beat him. Because right now on the main roster, I don't see it, man. If you're going to beat Edge and Daniel Bryan, two of the top guys right now in the biggest storylines on SmackDown, I don't see anybody else on that roster right now even coming close to what Roman Reigns is doing. You're going to have a big name like The Rock or Brock Lesnar to come back, challenge Reigns, and beat Reigns clean. Other than that, I don't see him losing the championship anytime soon. But like I do with every single one of these pay-per-views, I always give these pay-per-views a rating. I'm going to give this one a 6.5, 7. I'm not going to say it was the worst show or worst WrestleMania I've ever seen, but it definitely wasn't the best. But this is my review of WrestleMania 37. I hope you guys are out there staying safe, be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.